Welcome back to the Becoming Mama podcast. It is Sam here. And as you can tell from the title, today Emmy and I are tackling the topic of social media. We talk about our relationship with social media. We both have two very different relationships with social media, and social media plays different roles in each of our lives. And we talk about our struggles with social media, where we have a hard time maintaining boundaries, where we are affected by it, or how it interferes with our daily life. And then we talk about some of the things that have helped us to overcome that or improve our relationship with social media over time. And you'll find that we still struggle in a lot of areas, but have made improvements. And hopefully hearing our experience can help you with yours and can even encourage you if you're someone who wants to start an online business or start posting online as more of a hobbyist or as a professional. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast. And before you leave, please make sure to rate the podcast, write a review. If you think the podcast is worth sharing, share it, and be sure to connect with us on social media down in the show notes below. All right, without further ado, here it is, social media.
Welcome to the Becoming Mama podcast, where two long-lost best friends discuss all things motherhood. I am your host, Emmy Kissinger, and I'm here with my co-host, Sam Hall.
Hi, everybody.
We are going to talk about social media boundaries, phone usage, and share some tips that we have today. We're going to talk about our struggles and maybe throw in some positives, but we're going to talk about all about how social media and motherhood collide.
Yes. And yes, this is also our third podcast of the day. So if we get a little silly, that's why.
We've been talking. We've been talking for a while.
We've been talking for a while. But yeah, it's going to be a lot just talking about our experiences with social media and some of the struggles that we have. And I think that we want to preface this by saying, Emmy, social media is her career, or she has a social media business. This is her career, plays a huge part in her life. For me, it's an aspect of my career, especially now it's starting to become more of an aspect of my career. So some of this might feel like it's not applicable to you, but I think we all spend a lot of time on social media. We all need boundaries around social media. And I think a lot of us, those boundaries get blurred sometimes. So even though we come at it from a professional aspect as well, we're not just going to talk about that, right?
Right. We're going to share. Yeah, I think there's just different ways that it plays a part in the way we show up as moms and the way we show up with our kids and with our families. And that's mainly what we're going to hit on today.
Yes, absolutely. So we're going to start with our current and past relationship with social media, as far as what has our presence looked like on it and all of that. And I'll get us started with that since I thought about this ahead of time. But for me, social media has been a part of my life since its inception. I was an early adopter of Facebook. I had a shared MySpace account with our high school friend Chelsea.
Shout out, Chelsea. You should come on the podcast.
Shout out Chelsea. God, that was cringe. But yes, been on social media for a while. And I think I underestimate, and I would love your thoughts on this. I think I underestimate how much early social media has impacted who I am today and how I see the world and view myself, because we shared everything on Facebook. Like the Facebook bar was like, Samantha is, whatever. And it was
Is
heartbroken.
feeling today.
Yes, that's right. It was feeling it was you just shared your everything out to all these people. And I think that's maybe why I'm so comfortable doing that now to a fault. But been on it since then. But recently, and primarily in my life for the last 7 years, I focused on Instagram, and I started posting on there around 2017 consistently for fitness. I have a master's in exercise science and sports nutrition, if you did not know, and I worked in fitness for about 12 years, and but was primarily on Instagram for 7 years, just trying to bring people over to honest clients, over to the brands that I worked for, which were Orange Theory, and then I worked for a bodybuilding and online coaching team, and I managed the content for them as well. And so it's really about community building and in getting clients and maintaining memberships and things like that. And I've always been active on social media, posting about my life, and that was primarily to just for fitness, to be you want to know the person behind everything. You always do. And you think about that. If you were going to hire a coach, you don't just want to see their body, you want to know about them and all of that. But I also just really liked showing up and having connections. And we moved around a lot. We moved to 5 different states in 4 years. And so it was one of my only ways to really connect with people was through DMs and through talking on stories. And it really made me feel like less lonely when I was the most lonely I'd ever been in my entire life. And so that was 2017 to 2017 to 2021. Then in 2021, I started posting more fun stuff and started making content and making voiceover reels. And I started to enjoy like actually making content. So I was doing it for work at that time and I was doing it for fun. And then this past year in 2023, I started to post about my motherhood journey. I had posted about motherhood since I had Teddy. I shared everything again to a fault. The highs and lows, the tongue tie, the everything. And again, it was a way for me to connect with people that I really needed. And I don't know what my postpartum experience would have looked like if I didn't have the conversations that I had with people in DMs, if I didn't hear other people's stories. It really was impactful for me. But then in 2023, when I started to dive into motherhood research and motherhood studies, I started to kind of shift my entire content to that. And it was a place for me to put that out into the world while still being myself, posting my stuff, all of that. And now that I have the journal and day planner coming out, I have 2 Instagram accounts. And so I have my personal account and then I have my Welcome Mama account. And my personal account is where I get to post whatever I want and I get to make fun content and I get to do lifestyle stuff. And then on Welcome Mama, it's for more motherhood stuff. And it will be a place for the journal and day planner when that comes out. And my goals right now really are to grow both of those accounts. And I want to connect with other moms. I want to connect with their mom brands. I want the journal and day planner to get out there and to sell. And I want to start making an income through social media because I've been doing it forever. I've been myself on there to a fault forever. And so if I'm going to spend my time on there, I would really love to be able to make an income that way. And again, sell my journal and day planner. So that's my long journey to where I am now.
Yeah, I can relate
Sound
to a
right
lot
to
of
you?
that. Yeah, that sounds right to me. Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
I think it's fairly concise considering how big of a part social media actually plays in your life, and I can relate to that because it also plays a big part in my life. And again, like we prefaced this whole podcast with, that might not be the case for you, our listeners out there. But I think, I don't know for sure, but a lot of moms that I have met do aspire to have a social media presence, even if they maybe don't, they want to. And so that's why this might be kind of relatable for you. If it's something that you actually think would be really cool to cultivate, you can learn a little bit from us because we've done some things. We've been showing up, and we have grown a little bit here and there. And so you can learn from us if that's something you're interested in. But my history with social media is very similar in the early days to Samantha's. Had Facebook pretty much from the very beginning. Really enjoyed it back then. I think you mentioned kind of like we shared everything. I think that's kind of how they got us hooked initially, because it was a place for empathy and connection and networking at its finest. So I still love Facebook. I'm there every day. I don't post there regularly, but I love it because of the small town community aspect and because of the family orientedness. I think that's where people oftentimes are posting baby announcements, they're posting life celebrations, they're posting milestones, and all of that stuff is truly like, I love it. Like that's what I truly want to see on social media. So I think Facebook will forever hold a place in my heart because of that type of content. So after kind of the early days of social media, I found my job, my professional work, to be a lot of paperwork, a lot of meetings, and not a lot of opportunities for actual creativity in terms of creating art and building something that I perceived as really beautiful. And so found Canva, already had like a background a little bit in Photoshop from high school, so found that I was able to create some graphics and things like that. And because I believed in myself enough to think that I could write something here and there, thought that I could probably write some social media captions, so kind of started reaching out to some businesses asking if they were interested in hiring a social media manager. Turns out there were some that wanted to hire a social media manager, so kind of shifted into that being my career. And once I was like, okay, so I'm growing all of these other people's and all of these other businesses' social media accounts. Why wouldn't I grow my own too? Because that's the ultimate form of creativity, is creating what I truly actually want to create. And so started my own Instagram and posting some things there, and it's still not what I want it to be. It's still not cohesive. It is kind of a reflection of who I am and what my personal brand is at this time. It's not perfect, it's not put together. It's really not anything except that if you think that a mom from Iowa who pretty much it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to know or think I missed?
When did you make that switch to doing this social media management? What year was that?
Maybe some people would be interested in this. If you're interested in doing a little bit of freelance work on the side, like you want to start a social media side hustle or any kind of digital marketing or online side hustle, what I did was I just went and created a profile on a website called Upwork. And I just described who I was, what my profession was, and what background and knowledge I had. And then one day, like, I forgot about it. I created it, forgot about it. And Fox was 4 years old at this time. So that would have been 5 years ago. And it was before Twyla was born. So a company reached out to me and they're like, "Hey, we need someone with a background in education to help us grow our audience for the toy, the educational toy that we're creating." And I was like, "Doubt I can help you with that, but I'll sure try." And it was really low paying. It was $15 an hour, but I started doing it and I was pretty good at it. So then that's where I was kind of like, huh, if I could do it for them, maybe I could do it for
Yeah.
someone else. And so that allowed me to kind of, obviously from there, I was like, oh, maybe I should get some types of training. Maybe I should read some books. Maybe I should learn more about marketing and start kind of
Yeah.
experimenting with this stuff a little bit more. But I gained the courage and the confidence from that one initial opportunity and experience. And what's really cool about that story in general, is that anybody who wants to get involved in a little bit of content creation, if you're willing to learn as you go and maybe not necessarily work for free, but work to gain a skill set,
Mhm.
you can probably find somebody out there who would say yes, absolutely. Like a small local business who's needing a little bit of help, or who dreams of having social media but doesn't have the time to create it. So there's lots of
Yeah.
opportunities for you to go and learn and experience these skills if you desire them.
That sounds that your experience is what I have seen from your experience of watching you on, online. Since if you don't know, when we say long lost best friends, like Emmy and I really only watch each other online for like 10 years and like very, very, very rarely talk. So that it does reflect that. But that's just another great testament of social media. That's what brought us back together, is like when I wanted to make the switch into the motherhood space, I was like, I'm gonna need to now actively try to grow an audience. And I've never like really done that before. And so, hey, Emmy, since you work in the space, can you help me learn how to like grow a following? And then it was like, I think I'm going to start a podcast. Well, I was going to start a podcast, and now here we are. So it is just crazy how that happens. But I think we'll shift now into like our biggest struggles with social media, because I feel like social media has this beautiful pieces like that, right? Like, reconnecting people. And like I said, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have social media to this day. Like as a work from home, stay at home mom, I get lonely a lot of the time. And to be able to talk to my friends in Lincoln, Nebraska, to be able to talk to my friends in Cresco, to be able to talk to my friends in North Carolina, like, and people I have connected with in Australia, and like I've like my inbox right now, I talk to someone in Australia, Colorado, like all over the place, people that I genuinely care about that I have never met. And so it has these beautiful pieces to it. And there's so much you can learn from it, but also it can be a really challenging place, especially if you are somebody if you're a mom, I think you'll find some of my struggles to be really relatable. And if you're also growing a business online, it can be really hard. And I'd say my number one struggle is comparison and fear of being judged online. And I think that whether you are posting online actively or just a consumer of social media, you probably relate to this in some way. I compare myself to other people online quite frequently, I would say, especially as you're trying to grow and you see people doing similar things. It's like, well, what am I not doing that they're doing? Or like, how can I be more like them when I don't necessarily want to be more like them? I just see what's working for them and I think, well, maybe I need to be like that. But then I was also afraid of, well, if I post this content, will I be judged for it? If I actively try and if I actively say like, yeah, I want to grow a following. Yeah, I want to like I don't know if be an influencer is the right word because I don't think that's I want to be not more than that. I think influencers serve their place and it's whatever, but I want to I want to have I want to make money from social media. That's what I want to say. Like I want to grow this so that I can make money from social media. If I say that, I'm afraid of being judged for that. Or if I then have posts that don't do well, I'm afraid of being judged for that. I if I don't if I post something that maybe isn't what other people agree with, I'm afraid of being judged for that. So there's just so much judgment that I think is online. And because we have the ability to comment and like or not like, the judgment is like, it's what we're literally putting ourselves out there for, right? It's like, hey, like me, like this thing I made, like judge this thing I made. And so that's a really big one for me. Anything you want to say on that before I go on to the next one?
I will just say that's also on my list for sure. Comparison is a really hard thing with social media. And I'll also say that it's really, really hard to say those words that you said of I want to make money from social media, which is an interesting thing when you think about the businesses who are on social media. Everybody just
Mm,
implies that those people are there to make money and they don't have a problem with it, you know? But when it's a mom who's like, oh, like I just want to sell like this little thing I made on Etsy, everybody's like, oh, like why?
cringe.
You know? Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just an interesting opportunity to reflect on how we perceive the different aspects of our world. Continue
Yeah.
on.
And I think we get in our heads about that a lot too, because like if like I talked about my friend Nikki recently because I just had a conversation with her, but she has a lot of businesses and she has a podcast and she openly says like, hey, go follow my podcast. Like, hey, go like this thing that I made. And she openly says like, hey, go buy this, go do this. I don't think anything of it. I think, hell yeah, girl, I'll go like it. Hell yeah, I'll go do that. But if I say that, if I say like, hey, I just put up this post, please go like it. Hey, I just put up this post, go comment on it. Hey, I'm selling this thing, please go check it out, go buy it, go share it with your friends. If I say that, I feel like people are gonna be like, ugh, gross, ew, like cringe, like I'm not doing that, like ugh, because I don't know. That's just, maybe that's just who I am. But I think we also like we overthink it and we think that people are thinking more about us than they actually are versus like maybe people actually want to support you. Maybe people actually do want to see what you have to say or see what you have to post. And so maybe you have an idea for a reel, but you've never made a reel before. Or you want to share more pictures of your family, but you think no one wants to see it. Like no one's thinking anything. No one's I highly doubt anyone's gonna be following you. You're gonna post a picture of your family and they're gonna go, oh, I don't want to see her family. Like, no one follow you, you know? But I think we just overthink it.
Yeah, totally. And so if you're on your social media journey, you're wanting to create an audience, this might be where you're
Mm.
at and it's a something to work on and overcome. I actually just I did a Instagram story about this the other day, or a mom vlog actually I did, about how I recently signed up for an energy clearing session, which is this session where you literally go into basically like a Google form and you're like, these are my problems. And the person on the other end, her name is Kayla, you don't meet her anything. She just clears them and she sends you a report. I feel like it worked. And I feel like the reason I feel like the reason it worked was because I was able to be honest and say, this is what I actually want. This is why I actually want it. And I am at the
Mm.
place now where I'm open to making that a reality in my life. You know what I
So
mean?
I'm going to say that your energy was not cleared. I'm going to say that you removed your own blocks by saying, this is what I want and I'm open to receiving it.
But I'm gonna do it again this week because I've got a new layer of problems that I need to dive into.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's so funny. I
If
only say it's
anyone
so
else
funny
would
because
like to do this energy clearing, let me know. I'll send you a link. She's a really nice lady.
I'm sure she is, and like honestly, it's one of those things. If it works for you, like who cares?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I don't. I just have a hard time. Well, I mean, but Nia can read us through a thing, and I believe in that. So whatever. uh, but I think there's a lot of power in just that alone, and saying like,
There is,
I
yeah.
did. I want this, and I want it. I want it to be. I want it to come to me. Which is one of the hardest things to do. I at least for me, it is where I'm like, okay, I want this, but do I believe I can?
Hmm.
Or do I believe I deserve it, or am I worthy? Which leads me to my next point. My second biggest struggle is my self-worth being tied to social media. So if I don't get a lot of likes on a post, I feel like shit about myself. If I lose a couple followers, I feel like shit about myself. If I don't gain followers, I feel like shit about myself. um, Negative comments, which I don't get a lot of, but when I do, which is it's really easy to feel like crap about that. And like I've said before, and I said a lot at the beginning of this podcast, but I've always been very open on social media and very, I the word I want to use is authentic, but I think you can only be authentic to a certain point on social media. I really do. I think there's always going to be like, there's always some sort of like gap between who you are and who you are on social media. But I would say I'm as close to who I am as I can be on social media. And whatever I'm going through, I talk about. And so when I do that, I am, it's very easy to feel like if you don't like what I say on social media, if you don't like the content I put out, then you don't like me, and I'm not worthy, and I'm not worth following, and I'm not worth all of these things. When in reality, like not everyone's going to like everything that you do. And like you see all the time online, it's like if 30 people came up to me and told me that they liked my outfit, I'd be so stoked. And 30 people liked your picture, then that's amazing. Especially in social media today, where like 1% of your audience is going to see your post, which is a fact, guys. Like it's like, what is it, 1 to 5% of your audience will see your post now?
Yeah, it's
It's
gonna
wild.
get pushed out to a very small group of people.
Yeah. So I've had a hard time disconnecting myself from that, and I think that's one of my biggest struggles right now with the journal and day planner coming out, is that I still have that worth associated with numbers and with all of that. So it's very scary to put that out into the world. And what if people don't like it? Then they don't like me, and that's not the direct correlation. But it's just how my brain works. So that's a big hurdle that I have.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a client that I work with where the posts that I am responsible for creating for them are definitely a moral gray area for me. And I've been working with them for
Mm,
a year now and I really enjoy the work. But it's definitely been a lot of like me having to detach from
mm,
what people say about those posts, like every aspect of those posts. Like it has to be like I'm a robot posting that content and I'm there's like a wall between me and what's actually happening in the online space, which that is actually what in reality what is going on. But what's interesting about that for me is that what happens when we don't tie our self-worth to the things that we're posting and we don't tie ourselves to the content that we're posting and we're okay with saying anything and everything. I think that going too far in that direction is also really scary and really interesting to think about. So, I don't know. That's all I've got
mm,
on that, but it's just like a whole spectrum of experience and reality that we're all living that's also virtual and not
mm.
reality.
Yeah. Yeah, that's trippy to think about. Why don't you share one of your struggles, since but you had the comparison one too. So what's one for you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I like going back and forth. Okay, so many of my struggles related to social media are not necessarily, I mean, they are these things that Samantha is sharing in her experience, but they are also different because it's sort of like part of my work. And so if you're, I mean, most of us detach our jobs from our regular life. And for me, that's not a possibility. I actually always have to be plugged in. I post on the weekends. I post whenever my clients need me to post. And so there's always a trap that I'm finding myself in where I am scrolling or I am posting or doing things while my kids are around. When all the kids are playing on the jungle gym at the park, that is a great opportunity for me to get something posted online quick. And so the challenge with that and the struggle is that if I am multitasking, it's really easy for me to switch into rage mom instead of calm, normal, regular Emmy mom because I'm like trying to do this thing. They don't know that I'm working. They're asking something of me, and I don't actually have anything to give because my attention is focused elsewhere. And so it becomes this really, really dangerous territory where I, because of my work, am turning into someone that I don't want to be and showing up in a way that does not feel good to me. And so that's a challenge that I face every single day. It's something that I've gotten a little bit better at. But I guess I'm thankful because my family, they do a good job of not holding it against me, I guess. Whenever my sister's here, my parents are here, I have people visiting, I have to work part of that time. That's just part of the way I have my business set up. And nobody ever seems to get frustrated or annoyed that I, have to give some of my attention to that. And for that, I'm super grateful.
I can imagine that would be very difficult. To an extent, I feel that way sometimes with when you're sharing your life and when like Welcome Mama is a great example of this for me where like it is who I am. It is something I care so deeply about. I love my journal and day planner so much, and I have had to recently say, but this is your product. This is not who you are. And when you walk away from your office at the end of the day, you're done. Like you can't think about this anymore. Like if this were an office job, you wouldn't go and like ruminate on it. Like you need to treat this like a 9 to 5 or it will kill you. So I can imagine that'd be really hard.
Yeah, it's a trade that I am comfortable making because for all of the
Hmm.
minutes that I have to give to my work, there's an infinite number of minutes where I actually get to be available for
Yeah,
them. So
that's
it's a trade that I have ethically come around or morally come around to accepting and
mhm.
understanding, but also recognizing that it's still a struggle for me.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I absolutely. And well, this probably ties in a little bit to the flawless performance of motherhood of being like, well, I don't want to be the mom on my phone sitting on at the park because I'm going to get judged by other moms where they don't know that I'm working right now. Like there's that aspect too. And speaking of family, I think that's so funny because when I was a social media manager for the team that I worked for, I would be like at home writing a post and posting a post like on a Saturday or whatever, like when I was at my parents' house, and everybody would keep coming up and talking to me. I'm like, I am working. Like this isn't I know this doesn't feel like, but I'm actively working right now. I have to get this up. Like this is like it's just so funny because yeah, it doesn't look like work, but it is work. Which kind of leads me into my last thing is that social media can be a huge time suck for me. And I think again, this is whether you are working on social media or just a consumer, it is one of those things that I can get caught up in and whether that's scrolling, DMing, watching stories. I don't scroll a lot. I've really pared down who I follow, especially my personal account. And I more so watch stories because that's where I connect with people and that's what I'm there for. But even like making a reel, I spent like an hour yesterday making a 8-second reel because I needed to find the right video. Once I found the right video, I needed to get the text right. Then I needed to get, and then, I mean, finding the video took me forever. Then getting the text right, then picking the right sound, then writing the caption, then writing, getting it scheduled. Like it took me an hour for one 8-second reel. And that I would I it's kind of the norm. Like a 1-minute reel could take me an hour, hour and a half. And so it takes a lot of time to make good content, in my opinion. And that's just the putting it together, not the filming it. Like if you want to film actually really good content, like you need your tripod, you need your lighting, you need your camera, you need like, and that's good content for me, not good content for other people that takes, days. Um, but it just takes a lot of time. And I don't feel good when I spend a lot of time on social media mindlessly. And I don't even feel good when I spend a lot of time on social media posting. Like it makes my head hurt and it makes me feel like dissociated with my life, which I don't like. And so it's something that I've had to be um, become very aware of, which is good and bad because when I'm really aware of it, I'm more aware of how shitty I feel because I'm like, oh yeah, you spend a lot of time, like, you feel like shit. But it also then helps me to like kind of balance it out and schedule my social media time, which has is something that I'll talk about at the end of things that have helped me.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. Everything that you see in the social media world, most of it took someone a really long time to create. So if you're thinking about doling out your likes, feel free to you send out a little extra love at times.
Hmm.
Actually, so my kids and Zach, they are all content creators in our family, along with myself, and we create a lot of content for brands. And we actually gave up our entire Sunday this past Sunday, creating videos for 3 different brands, and it's an interesting thing to it would probably be an interesting thing to be on the fly on the wall because the kids are interacting with the products which they like, and so it's sort of play and sort of work for them, and yes, they do get paid. But for me, it's a job and it's work, and I want to get it done as fast as we
Hmm.
can because I know that, I mean, this is just the filming. I still have to edit, I still have to deliver, I still have to write the scripts and do the voiceover and all of the stuff. And so
Hmm.
it's really interesting to become a content creation family where your kids are like,
Yeah.
oh, I just want to play with this thing for a while. And I am like, get this scene. We are filming this clip. So that's a whole nother aspect
Yeah.
of what you're mentioning, but it's all tied into social media.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like when you think about like if you are just a consumer of social media, I want you to like think about all of the things you see and remember that that had to be filmed. Like I think it's really easy to just think of like, oh, this is just somebody's day. This is just somebody's life. This is just somebody playing. There is a phone or camera set up. So like when you see someone shopping at Home Goods and they do their Home Goods haul, they have a camera set up somewhere. Like you have to think about that. Like that in itself is so much brain power too to be like, oh, I'm going to film our day, and then like, oh, I have to remember to put the camera up, or I have to remember to. It's wild to think about like all of the things that go into that. Like when you watch someone's like day in the life, like there were like 10, 20 different videos that that person had to take to get you that 1 minute video. It's really wild. Yeah,
Yeah, it is wild.
and funny to think about from like when you see some videos. Like I want you to think about like what like when people like do the shot of them opening the fridge, they put their phone in the fridge. You guys, like their phone is in the fridge.
Better yet, from the perspective of a social media manager and content creator, don't think about it. Just watch it and buy. I want you to make responsible consumer choices for your family, but also this person created a beautiful work of art for you. Enjoy it.
I know, but when we're talking about the flawless performance of life, like that, it didn't just happen. Like it's bonkers. It's actually crazy when you think about the things people do to get content. You're like, wow, you really did that. But anyway, what's your last? Wait, was that 2 12?
I think I have one more.
Okay, what's your one more?
Okay, so again, this is sort of like tied to social media, and it's that when you work in social media, and I'm sure actually everyone experiences this, you'll see videos on how to make money using social media. And so there are endless strategies, endless opportunities. And when you are in my line of work, you actually understand how, oh, like what they're saying is true, it makes sense, and it's possible. And I could do that.
Hmm.
And I could
Hmm.
start it today or I could start it tomorrow. And so
Hmm.
it leads to an endless stream of overthinking and strategizing in my brain where I'm like, well, if I just added this one thing to my to do list every day and added this one other little task, I could build this whole other thing and have this whole other stream of income for my family. And it is
Hmm.
toxic if I don't stop and say, nope, you're already doing
Yeah.
enough. You're doing the things that you want to be doing. Your finances are secured. Everything is good to go. There is no need to worry about that because truly opportunities are endless and it
Yeah.
can be way too much to you just can't say yes to everything. So
No.
that's a really,
Well, and
really
it's really
hard thing for me
conflicting.
with social media.
Yeah. It's so conflicting too. It's like some people will tell you to do this, some people tell you to do that, and when you post doesn't matter. Oh, it posts at the same time every day. Like it's the different. Like if you really did everything that everybody said you need to do on social media, you'd be doing nothing. Like you'd be
Doing
collecting
nothing.
back up. You literally wouldn't. Like okay, I'll post it this time every day. Oh no, I won't. So I just won't post it. Like it's overwhelming. I feel that. I feel that even as a hobbyist over here. It's like, well, if I just found the right trending audio, and it's like, oh, I like this audio. Yeah, I can't
It'll do.
spend
It'll do.
another, yeah, so much, so much. But things that have helped. I will just run through this list quickly because they're pretty simple. First thing is doing what I want has helped a lot, especially with like making these 2 new accounts, like being able to post what I want and say what I want to say on Welcome Mom, and knowing that that is the space for it, and that if you don't want motherhood content, then you're in the wrong place. And being able to share my life on my personal account, which again, like if you don't want that, then you're in the wrong place, and allow myself to get creative. And it's helped me to start disconnecting from the likes, because it's genuinely just what I wanted to make. And I think of my personal account more now as like a time capsule of like, this is my life and this is what I want to remember and this is what I want to share. And this is what matters to me at this point in time in my life, and this is what I'm doing. And it is so fun to look back on, like, even just like I made this little skincare video, and like it's so fun for me to look back like a year from now and be like, oh yeah, I loved that product. I forgot about that. And to then go back and revisit that thing. And I've done that in the past. Like I did a things I love back in 20 at the end of 2021. And there was this hyaluronic acid serum that totally forgot about, but I saw that video and I was like, oh my God, I need to get that again. And I did, and I love it. So just thinking of my social media as that, of like this time capsule, sharing my life, and then I'm going to try to monetize it, but I'm not going to change who I am and what I share in order to then do that. That's helped me feel a lot better about all of that. And again, recognizing that not everyone's going to like me, and that's okay. But if I make content that I like, the people who like that content will then find me, hopefully, if Instagram gods be willing. And then the second thing is, rather than focusing as much on like growing a following, is focusing more on the awesome people I'm already connected with, because I think a lot of times we can lose sight of that. And I saw a really cool post about this a few weeks ago. That someone, I think you follow her too. She was like, if I think about my social media as like a party, a house party. And if I was hosting a house party and I had all these guests here, and all I did was stand out on my porch and look out for the people who I wanted to come or to come to my party, like I wouldn't be a very good party. What I want to do is I want to be in the party. I want to be like with the people who are there, and I want to welcome the people who come, but I don't want to be not in the party. And I was like, God, yes. Like, like I've said a million times, like I love the relationships that I have. And so being able to like focus on those has just made social media way more enjoyable. And it's like the sticker I shared on another episode, like when you focus on the good, the good gets better. And so I've had a lot more fun on social media, focusing on just being on my stories and putting up polls and question box and starting conversations with people. And it's just been really a huge like game changer for me. And then the last thing is time management, which is something I am still working on, will forever work on. But I have set aside my Mondays to plan and create content for the next week. So like this week is already planned, created, scheduled, and then then I'll plan and create on Monday. So like my Mondays are like 8 hours of Instagram, some TikTok, um, some YouTube shorts if I get there, but it is just all content all day. And then I don't have to worry about it as much throughout the rest of my week. And I can post on stories and I can engage and I can do all those things that I like to do, without, I like making content, but when you're doing it every single day, and being like panicked to like put something out, it's not as fun. And and I can be more creative and I can think about what I want to do ahead of time because I'm not on like a time crunch. So that has helped. And then I have timers set up on my phone for screen time so that my phone goes into do not disturb at 5 p.m. so that my email, my everything shuts down. Only like my apps like weather and things that like I just want to be able to access if I need to access them, they're still available. And then I have a 15-minute timer on Instagram that it times out and I need to enter my password to get back in. So like I'm allowed 15 minutes of time on Instagram a day. And then if I need to go back on, I just use the screen time feature on the iPhone to ask to just say, give me 15 more minutes. I put in my passcode. And what that does for me is it helps me to not get sucked in to my, like if I just didn't have anything on there, I could spend an hour straight on social media doing a bunch of things. But this then stops me again at 15 minutes. And then I can check in like, do I need to finish that thing I was working on? Or can I be done with what I was doing? Can I get off now? And that's always helpful for me. And yeah, then other than that, I really try not to scroll at night. I try really hard not to engage with my social media at night. What I will do is I will post at night, post it, share it to my stories, and then I do anything I need to do in the morning. But if I am on my personal social media before I go to bed, I will, it gives me, it get that comparison anxiety really spikes. So I try really hard not to go on social media after like, again, 5 when my phone dies.
Those are some great tips. I can relate to pretty much all of them.
Oh,
Here's
nice.
my quick list of tips. I have a place where I set my phone. I set it on the charging space, and when it's time for me to be off my phone, I try really hard to leave it there, not touch it. It's sort of like my brain signal that I'm off my phone right now. I am not doing work right now. I am stepping away to be with my family and to do stuff at home. I have planned routines around my phone, so I don't use my phone right away in the morning unless I have to get up early to work. I leave it until it's actually time for us to walk out the door, and then I check my phone later as part of my daily routine. After my work day is done around 3:30 or 4, I set my phone in that place and I don't touch it again until usually supper's made and everything is shut down for the evening. I called that closing the kitchen on that other episode we recorded. So again, some routines around my phone, which are really helpful. And then I try as hard as I can. I know that I shared this as a struggle, but I try
Mm-hmm.
not to multitask when possible. I try to either enjoy my family or be working, and having help from grandma, having Bluey, and having nap time. Those things really help in that department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's something that Lauren talked about in her books. If you guys like Lauren's episode, she talked a lot about like setting your like office hours so that your kids know what to expect from you when, and easier said than done, especially when you're online for work. Like that's really hard, but it is something that's a good mindset to have and to try to strive for.
And one thing I
Awesome.
also started doing was I verbalize when I'm working. So if the kids are trying to get my
Mm,
attention, I'm like, "Oh, just so you know, I'm working right now," so that they actually
mhm.
know, "Oh, mom's not just playing Tetris."
Yeah. Speaking of phone habits, there's a whole other thing we could go into about phone habits and
Games.
like
Yeah.
games and stuff. Yeah, I'm actually going to do. We just did the podcast on the flawless performance of motherhood, which I think that will come out next week, so you guys have that to look forward to. But one of the things about like being authentic is I'm going to do a reels here of like 3 things I do that I know I shouldn't, and one of them
Oh.
is I play phone games on my before I go to bed, and I listen to an audiobook, which is a fiction audiobook. I know I should be listening to more self-development. I know I should be like learning and stuff, but like I don't have the brain space for it. I haven't for a long time, and I don't like to read. I know I should read. I don't like to read.
It's fine. Listening, it counts.
Does it?
I
I
think
don't think it
I
does the
think it
same
counts.
thing. I'm strategizing, playing my little project makeover Candy Crush game.
I just played that for years. I got to a level I couldn't pass, and I'm not willing to pay to pass a level. Fox and I just had a
That's
really in-depth conversation about that the other day. He bought a bunch of levels on Fortnite, and I was like, "Do you think that's authentic? Do you think that's honest?"
oh, did
Zach
you
had the
earn
same
that?
conversation with him, so Fox was getting it from 2 different people, and it was
Oh,
I don't know. He thinks it's fine. Fox does.
I
Perspective of a
mean,
9-year-old.
if you really want to beat that level, but I really enjoyed this conversation. We actually filmed this before. It was like over an hour. We were kind of all over the place, and I think we got. I think at least for me, I can't speak for you, but this felt like a lot more genuine of a conversation for me, and I hope that it comes across that like social media is our relationships are complex with social media. We don't have it figured out. We are learning as we go and finding what works for us, and focusing on the good things helps, and that we can, if we can all just be ourselves and encourage each other, we will keep moving forward.
Yeah, and I think if you do follow Samantha and I over on social media, we are again, I shouldn't speak for you, but I'm going to. We're really grateful. Like we love connecting with you, and if you are, there's a lot of you who listen to this podcast who I know watch my stories every single day, and I just
Mm-hmm.
want you to know that that makes me so happy and I'm so appreciative.
Yes.
I love it and it means the world to me.
1000%. Like I I hope that's come across enough in this conversation of like I love connecting with people on social media, but truly like every ounce of support, like it matters so much and it means so much to me and us. Like especially, I don't know, it just matters. And I think that like we can get so immune to that where it's like, what does it mean to like someone's post? Like, it doesn't mean anything, but it to like a small creator, it means so much. And so just thank you for that and the encouragement that you give us and the commenting on our stuff. And I also just want to give you a shout out, Emmy. I have noticed you talking more on your stories and I absolutely love it. So I want you to do that more because I love hearing from you and your stories.
I shared some really good stuff this week. Some really weird conversations. If you want to show up for the Daily Weird, go over and watch.
Yes, I love Emmy's stories, and she always has really great memes too that she shares. So make sure that you're following Emmy. And speaking of which, if you want to connect with us on Instagram, you can find all of our information down in the show notes. If you're not following the podcast or subscribe to the podcast, make sure you do that and leave us a 5-star rating and write us a review and share this podcast if you think it's worth sharing. And anything else?
While we're shamelessly promoting, go follow me on TikTok. I really want to connect with you over there if you are on TikTok. So Emmy_Kissinger, same as every other place.
We got a lot of good fun TikToks, so go follow her over there.
We appreciate you. Thanks for listening.
We do. Bye.